Gladys Berejiklian unfazed by jabs thrown from her West Australian counterpart.
I couldn't care less at the end of the day what criticism is levelled at me.
And throwing a few punches of her own.
I don't believe keeping your borders closed and inflicting pain and suffering on thousands of people is the way to go. That's just the New South Wales strategy.
Premier McGowan questioned why the New South Wales government isn't trying to eliminate the virus and was content with simply ticking along with it instead. But the New South Wales Premier says not only does her strategy align with National Cabinet, elimination is completely unrealistic.
In fact, the restrictions we have in place now are to get to zero community transmission. I don't think there's any state in the nation that hasn't had cases come up in hotel quarantine, so to suggest that you can somehow eliminate the disease from Australia, I don't think is realistic.
I'm not here to judge New South Wales. I'm here to make sure that we protect Western Australians. New South Wales are doing the best they can under the circumstances that they have. In Western Australia, we have a different set of circumstances, and we are trying to do our bit to meet the national goal of zero presence of the disease in the community.
The state has welcomed back more than 100,000 returning Australians, despite many of them not being New South Wales residents, putting New South Wales at the greatest risk of having the virus leaking into the community.
Gladys Berejiklian and New South Wales has done a magnificent job in the tracking and the tracing and making sure that they kept their economy open. And many West Australians, Mark McGowan needs to also remember, have come through Sydney and done their mandatory 2-week quarantining and then returned to Perth.
Authorities are concerned by recent low testing numbers, just 14,000 people coming forward in the last 24 hours. They want to average 25,000 per day.
We really need to have higher testing levels if we are to combat the rumblings that are still going on.
The state recorded 5 new COVID cases. The man who presented at Mount Druitt Hospital yesterday and his partner, one which is linked to the Berala cluster and already in isolation, and 2 on Sydney's northern beaches which are under investigation. The New South Wales Premier says it's unlikely restrictions will be eased anytime soon.
We're still seeing community transmission, even though in most instances they're household contacts or people already in isolation, but we have had a couple of examples where they're still unlinked.
Charlotte Mortlock, Sky News, Sydney.